The Yankees have won 4 straight games, but they say that momentum is only as strong as your next day's starting pitcher. Tonight, the Yankees look to Jordan Montgomery, making his 4th start of the season, to try and keep up the Yankees' winning ways. My recap, your reactions, coming up next. This is Yankees Game Night. How's it going, everybody? 5-game win streak for the Yankees. Interesting competition for the belt tonight. Great job by Monty. Giancarlo hits number 350. Mike King, filthy again. Just a really, really good night for the Yankees. Feels good to be in the winning side of things in April. It's been a lot of bad Aprils over the last several years, and it feels good this year to get off to a decent start. Now, we still got a couple of games to go against the Royals. You hope that the Yankees bring this momentum in. Tomorrow, a day game. There will be no pregame show on this channel, but I'll be back with a postgame. So Monty got off to a very nice start tonight. 1-2-3 first inning, capped off by another really great play by DJ LeMahieu, diving to his left right there. Bottom one, Judge picks up an RBI single up the middle, and then, in accordance with the prophecy, Giancarlo Stanton makes it 2-0, and he makes a winner of Nostra Derek. Actually, Nostra Derek had a good night tonight, 2 for 2. Predictions were that Stanton would go deep and that the Yankees would win. So good night for Nostra Derek in the pregame. 350 home runs for Giancarlo Stanton. That's the 7th fastest any player has ever done that, just ahead of Albert Bell and Ralph Kiner. Never saw Ralph Kiner play, but Albert Bell was an absolute beast. Monty pitched around a single in the second. Really nice play and a pop-up by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, fighting the wind. I've noticed that the players are going to that fanny pack that they wear a lot, that little, it's like a hand warmer. Even on things like pop-ups and relay throws, they'll go real quick to warm up their hands before they touch the baseball. Very interesting. Top 3, Mateo leads off the inning with a double, but you can tell that he came up through the Yankees system because he got picked off at second base. Is that too soon? Is that too soon? Sorry. Monty was pounding the zone tonight. He didn't throw his 10th ball of the game until the 12th batter of the game, which was in the 4th inning. Very efficient performance for Monty, just 57 pitches through the first 5 innings. Second night in a row that we've seen the Yankees starting pitcher dominate through 5 innings and then kind of lose it. Top 6, Anthony Santander belted a 427-foot home run to left field to tie the game. He doesn't really have a ton of power from the right side, according to the Orioles announcers. Again, I had to watch on the Orioles station. But to me, he absolutely killed that ball. Second night in a row that he's at a home run. Monty was done after 5 2/3. Final line for him, 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned. No walks, 4 strikeouts. His ERA for the season sits at 2.70. That's a very nice April. He's done for April. So, I mean, obviously it's only 4 starts. Typically you would get 5 or 6. But if you have an ERA of 2.70 for a month, you've done a really nice job. And he's a back end of the rotation guy. So, I mean, well, I guess technically he's number 3. But really he's like our number 4 because Nestor definitely slots into number 2 or number 3. And even Tyone's been great this year. Bottom 6, Anthony Rizzo and DJ LeMahieu execute an absolutely fantastic hit and run to put runners on the corners with 1 out. Stanton scorched one to center field. Too low of a launch angle to leave the ballpark, even though it was hit hard enough, but it worked as a sac fly to put the Yankees up 3-2. I said in the pregame that Stanton has been hitting balls harder the last couple of days. You can see it. You can see this unfolding. We've seen it a lot over the past couple of years where he'll have these cold streaks and then he'll hit a couple of balls hard on the ground and get base hits, through a drawn-in infield or whatever, and then he'll go berserker and go ballistic for about a week or two where he hits 6 or 7 home runs, and I think that's about to happen. Tonight was the first. Just like I was saying last night, Joey Gallo, when he hits him in bunches. Stanton is the same way. And Joey Gallo, by the way, made it 2 days in a row with a home run, solo shot to make it 4-2. I actually had tweeted about 30 seconds before that home run that if he connected on a fastball from that guy, it was definitely going out of the ballpark. I said it was going to leave the Bronx. But you could tell that pitcher was throwing right in to Joey Gallo's swing path. And he's kind of like Chris Davis in a way, where he strikes out a lot, but he's got a ton of power if you throw it in a certain sort of plane. And you could see that the guy blew one fastball right by him in his swing path. And I said out loud to my dog who was sitting next to me, I said, Pepper, if he throws it there again, it's going to go in the upper deck. It didn't go in the upper deck, went into the bleachers. But 2 days in a row for Joey Gallo with a home run. Tonight was a very Joey Gallo-like night. Home run and 3 strikeouts. But again, 2 days in a row.
More of that, please.
I've been live tweeting the games more, by the way. So if you like to kind of follow along with, Twitter during the game, go ahead and give me a follow at NYY Recaps. Derek, you can just search for NYY Recaps on Twitter and you'll find me. Yankees go up 5-2 on a wild pitch from former prospect Dylan Tate, who, by the way, has a very live arm. You can see why the Yankees liked him so much, traded him for Zach Britton. Mike King was phenomenal again tonight after another 2 1/3 scoreless innings tonight. His ERA is down to 0.69. Very nice. He picked up the win. He is 2-0. Great job by Clay Holmes to close it out. Yankees win 5 in a row.
More of that, please.
Mr. John Sterling.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
I closed down the belt vote a little bit early. It was pretty lopsided, so we're going to go ahead and award that to Mr. Giancarlo Stanton.
Let's go. Belt winner.
Edwin NG says, too bad for Monty. One bad pitch cost him a win. And we talked about this. It seems like we talk about this subject every time that Monty pitches because he hardly ever gets run support. And unfairly, when people evaluate pitchers, the win is still looked to a lot. I'm guilty of it myself. It's one of the first things I look at. I'm trying to break that habit because I know it's not a super telling statistic, but for much of my life, most of your lives, pitchers that had the most wins were typically the best pitchers. We celebrate 300 wins. Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux. Curt Schilling, I think, got close to 300. Mike Mussina got 270. So we celebrate wins. And so we put a lot of value on them when the metrics are telling us it's really not a super important stat anymore. What is important is that he's pitching very well. 2.70 ERA. And the Yankees are 12-6, largely in part to their pitching because the offense didn't do much the first couple of weeks. Now that we're seeing the weather start to warm up a little bit, even though it was cold tonight, it looked that way anyway. I was 72 degrees in my living room. But the people who were at the ballpark, much love to you. You looked cold. Anyway, now that guys are getting into a better rhythm, at least we're starting to see more home runs. Gallo 2 days in a row. Wouldn't surprise me if he hits 1 or 2 in Kansas City. Stanton, obviously today. Wouldn't surprise me if he hits 1 or 2 in Kansas City. It seems like things kind of fluctuate. You never want everybody hot at the same time. Sure, that's fun. Those are the nights where you get 20 runs, when everybody's red hot. But what you really want is 3 or 4 players red hot often. Have your consistent guys like DJ LeMahieu, very consistent, although his 12-game hit streak, I believe, was snapped tonight, unfortunately for DJ. But, if you get a few guys hot at any given time, it can really work out. Jasmine Drury says, Sanchez and Glaber fell off a cliff. Tough night for Glaber, but he had a big triple last night. Let's see. Fritz Walter says, we should have scored far more runs against this team. Well, last night we put up 12. I mean, you can't put up 12 every night. Like I said, it looked pretty cold. It can be tough to hit in cold weather. And they do have guys who, bring some heat. That Batista guy was throwing 97. Dylan Tate kind of slings it in there with a funky arm motion at about 97, 98. He kind of reminds me of Miguel Castro. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes available if the Yankees pick him back up because they've got a very similar arm motion, and I bet you could turn Dylan Tate into another Miguel Castro. Dion says, Tyone tomorrow. I bet Miggy will be in the lineup day game after a night game. I bet you're right. I 100% agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Bad Dog says, nice mix of small ball, big ball, and solid pitching. 100% agree.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's good to see a nice team effort. Tonight might have been a decent night to award a team belt because you really did have, some good performances. Obviously, you'd love everybody to hit on any given night, but it's just not going to happen that often. Last night was one of those rare nights. The night before that, 22 runs in 2 games. It doesn't happen very often. And 5 runs isn't that bad. The Orioles are not a great team, but I'm satisfied with the win because last week the Yankees weren't doing anything against the Orioles. So to me, it just makes me feel better that they're actually beating a team that they're supposed to beat. Eric C. says, I bet Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak will never get broken in modern baseball. I got to say, I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Funny story. I want to say it was 1995, Game 1 of the American League Division Series, Yankees versus Mariners. First Yankees playoff game in 18 years. Joe DiMaggio, still alive at that time, would throw out the first pitch in big games. He throws out the first pitch. Stadium goes crazy. Yankees win the game. I believe they won like 9-6, something like that. We stayed at the ballpark until about the top of the 9th. The Yankees were going to win, and we had a long drive. We didn't live in the city. We lived over an hour away. And so we left a little bit early. And after the game, I'm walking with my head down, and I bumped right into an old man with a kind of a corduroy type, or I don't know if that's the right material, but what felt like a nice textured suit. And my dad and my brother both looked at each other like they were kind of starstruck for a second. And I'm just going along, and they said, you just bumped into Joe DiMaggio. So now that I have a Joe DiMaggio entanglement, and I like to think that, maybe a little bit of his energy or whatever kind of rubbed off on me. And that's why we have NYY Recaps this day, today. Bedford Boy says Tyone versus Zimmerman tomorrow. I haven't looked at Zimmerman's numbers this year, but he's given the Yankees a lot of trouble in the past. Aaron Gomez says, I'll take 5 runs on 8 hits every night.
Yes, I agree.
5 runs over the course of a full season on average is pretty good. I'm going to do the math real quick. So if we scored 5 runs a game for all 162, that would be 810 runs. That's 100 more runs. Actually, it's 99 more runs than the Yankees scored last year, I believe. That's a pretty good year. That 1998 team, 965 runs. That was crazy. Jasmine says, Yankees need to get this sweep. Yes.
More of that, please.
Lightning Samurai says, a win is a win. 100% agree.
Yes, I agree.
John Daniel Munoz says, do you think anyone will ever hit 400 again? Like I said last night, ever is a long time. That includes infinity. We have no idea what the game's going to be like in 50 years. No idea. If you had told somebody in 1961 that someday, within a span of 4 years, we'd have 2 guys hit over 70, they would have said, no way. No way, because of how hard it was for Maris to get to 61. But you never know. I mean, the game could change. They might move the mound back. I think it would be a really fun summer to see somebody shooting for 400. I remember 1994, one of the most disappointing things about the strike was that Tony Gwynn, who is one of my personal favorite players of all time, even though he's a non-Yankee, one of the few non-Yankees that I was a fan of and followed statistically. I think he hit 394 that year. And that was fun to watch. I remember reading the box scores every day. That was around the time when I first started really getting into reading baseball statistics. I had bought this video game for the computer called Front Page Sports Baseball Pro 94. Some people might remember that. It was a text-based baseball game, kind of similar to Out of the Park Baseball, which some people play now. And I just remember I got really into baseball statistics, and I still am. Not to the level that some people are, and I'm certainly not into the analytics as much as I probably could be for somebody who has a baseball show. But I remember, I got really into statistics that year, and I remember following Tony Gwynn all through 1994 as for a long time he was right around 400. And I think he might have got there. And I think he actually had a 162 game stretch where he had a 400-ish batting average. James G says, is exit velocity also down? Dead ball. We've heard a lot of complaints about the baseball. I haven't seen any statistics on overall exit velocity. I know we haven't seen as many Giancarlo Stanton 120 mile an hour shots this year. We've seen a number of 112, 115. But David Smith says, Sterling in the first inning says it would be nice for Stanton to start hitting. Next pitch, he hits a home run. He sees the same thing that we see, that Stanton was getting ready to come around. Jordan says, what's the magic number for the AL East? I don't, that's too much math for me at this point. But it'll be fun if we actually get to talk about magic numbers later this year. Brandon McCullum says, I'm loving the pre-commercial Italian music after Gallo and Rizzo homer. Love it.
I wholeheartedly agree.
One thing that I do get tired of is the same commercials over and over and over. When I watch the Yes Network, it's always Cambridge Pavers will make it look like new. And then for a long time, it was Cars for Kids. And I swear to God, that commercial almost drove me nuts. But tonight on the Orioles station, Masson, I kept seeing commercials for this movie called Moonfall. And I just wanted, because I love you people, and I'm a Yankees fan, and I want to protect my fellow Yankees fans and save their money. Do not spend a dime to watch that movie, Moonfall. I went and saw it with my buddy. I had free tickets, and I was overcharged. It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, bar none, not even close. I don't even know how it got made. It was incoherent drivel. And that rant is over. THG says, I don't know if the ball is deadened. If dudes like IKF are hitting balls a ton harder, I guess it can't be that deadened. IKF is looking great to me. I know he didn't do much tonight, but he looks good on defense. I'm loving his hustle. Like I said in the preseason when they got him, if your name is the Hawaiian Hustle, if you have hustle as any part of your nickname, I'm probably going to like you because I like guys who play hard, who get dirty, who play good defense. I'm loving IKF so far. Big IKF fan. Oh my God. Jordan says, Limu Emu and Doug. Oh my God. It is less of that, please. I need a sound recording. Less of that, please. Randy Noel says, Cone needs to be silent for 10 minutes. I love David Cone. I think he's nice comic relief. I love Cone, O'Neill. I mean, the whole crew is great. I wish they would get Jack Curry in the booth more because I love his analysis. He's more of a studio guy because he's a baseball writer and he's somebody who really breaks down the game very well. But he's a really intelligent guy, and you can never do wrong by listening to smart people talk about baseball. James G says, adding speed to the Yankees was a smart move. We saw a stolen base from Tim LeCastro tonight. He kind of reminds me, the way he's being used, of Homer Bush, another late 90s addition. He was part of that 98 team. He was included in the Roger Clemens trade in the spring of 1999. But he was invaluable. He would come in and run the bases. He would steal a bag. He almost never got caught. I don't have the stats in front of me. If somebody wants to pull it up, I'll put it on the screen if I see it. I think he had like 20 stolen bases, and I think he hit about 380 that year. Giovanni Cedeno says, Cone and O'Neill and Kay are really funny together. Yeah, they have a really strong chemistry. I got to say, and I know it's early, the jury's out on Maben. I think he has some fun moments, but I feel like he's almost too positive. Oh my God, Thomas, who did you got to record it. He says, no more of that, please. I love that. Now we're going to get the more of that for the no more of that.
Please.
It's like a paradox. Anyway, I forget where I was going. Maben, I feel like he's almost too positive. It reminds me a little bit of like Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show, where everybody's great and everybody's awesome and everything's the best. It's like, bring it down. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to hear like, just puff pieces, right? Let's keep it a little bit more realistic. That's one of the things I try and do on this channel is I will rant on occasion and I'll be negative when it's warranted. I try and stay positive and maintain a positive perspective, a glass is half full kind of perspective. But occasionally you just have to call things out. And I haven't seen much of that from Maben so far, even though he was there for some of the worst baseball we've had this year. As far as Beltran, I feel like he's a little diffident when he talks. He speaks kind of low and doesn't really express his words. He says good things that I think are relevant to the baseball game. He obviously knows the game very well. But he speaks kind of low and not super confident. And that's obviously because there's a slight language barrier there. He speaks English as a second language. So hopefully he'll get better. I have hope for him. But right now I got to say, I'd rather have Maben than Beltran in the booth at this point. That could change. We'll see. Mike says Liberty Bibberty. Bad Dog says, put me in the booth, I'll wear a tie. Yeah, Bad Dog and me were talking about this before about, content creators and our kind of place in baseball coverage. And I've kind of embraced being kind of this underground guy. I feel like if you get to a certain level, too many people start to hate you, And I don't want that. I just want to have a good time talking baseball. So I don't want it to get too big. I kind of like having a nice community, and we'll grow a little bit each year and keep doing it each year and, see where it goes. I would love to do the booth stuff, but I think I would rather do radio than TV. So, if John Sterling decides to retire and somebody from WFAN is watching, I will definitely throw my hat in the ring. Chris says, do you think Gallo is back? Well, tonight was, like you said, a very Gallo-ian, is that a word? Gallo-ian performance. Home run and 3 strikeouts. Home run 2 days in a row. This is kind of what we expected. 5116 says, who pitched the ninth? Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes picked up his, I think his first save of the year. Maybe a second. Mark Peterson says, KC coming into the Bronx. No, the Yankees are going to KC. It's going to be Tyone and Nasty Nestor, I believe. Let's see here. No, Tyone is tomorrow against the Orioles. Nestor Friday against the Royals in KC at 8 p.m. And then you're going to have Garrett Cole on Saturday, followed by Severino on Sunday. So, Dono Hype. Appreciate that. Let me get the... I lost my sounds. There we go. Appreciate that. Bad Dog says Fallon makes $1 billion. Everything's great for him. Well, you can't buy happiness, but it sure makes life a lot easier, I'm sure. All right, everybody. I had a wonderful time. Yankees win this one 5 in a row. I will see you after tomorrow's game. Day game after night game. We're probably going to see Miguel Andujar make his season debut, so look forward to that. Don't be surprised if you see him on the thumbnail, and I'll see you after the game. Good night, my friends. All right, we got the lineup for game 2.